Hello and welcome once again to Sun Dragon Tips and Tricks Ranunculus Assistance. I'm going to see if I can make a video before the end of the day today about the icord bind off finishing section of the sleeves. Now I'm making a much longer sleeve than hers calls for because I want this to be a little warmer. So the one that I'm making right now. This involves an icord bind off, and she says use a smaller needle. I'm not sure if I have that home with me, like using a 10 for the regular part and an 8 for this one. I may finish it on the same size just to show you what it looks like. All of this I've been able to do on my 16-inch needles. I have enough space here. And we'll see what it looks like. If I don't like it, I mean, the smaller needles will give you a tighter edge and it could look really nice. I'm sure there's a reason she wrote the pattern that way. If I can't find my size 8 needles, 16-inch, I may just go ahead and do it on the 10s and we'll see what would happen if we did it on the 10s. So let's get to it. I have decided that I'm going to try my icord bind off in the bright blue, but I'm also trying to stick to her instructions, which called for the smaller needle, and I said I might just try it with the bigger needle, but I want to see if it makes a difference. So I have pulled out, I didn't find my 16-inch, but I did find my Prim double point needles in size 8 US. I don't know if you can see that there. Is it gonna focus? Can try, there we put it in the sun. The sun is setting, so we'll see if it throws us off or not. To do it with this color, the first instruction is just to knit a row. So I'm going to transition to my double point needles by knitting a row with the yellow, and then I'm going to start using my teal for the next set of instructions. I'd like to break this up about 1/3 on each needle to get it onto double points. It's going to be about 16 stitches per needle. So to transfer, I'm just going to knit them onto here. And I mentioned this in my sleeve, getting my sleeve set up for 2 circulars. If the end of round is going to be between 2 needles, I try putting my marker on maybe 1 stitch away. So when I see that, I know that that needle is starting my new round. So I'm going to knit. Okay, I can let that guy go. I can pick up a new empty double point. Ugh, doing too much today, and do another 16. All right, now I'm going to knit onto a 3rd one. That ended up with more than 16, but I'm okay with the division on these. It's fairly even. Done with my circular. I need a 4th double point to pick up from here. And I think I'm done with this too. We could cut it or I could just break it. All right, I'm going to start knitting with my teal. And knitting with double point needles, I have a whole video just on this, but we always want to be knitting in a circle. So where it ends on this one, we need to move to the next needle to knit. Pick up an empty needle, and we're going to start knitting. Now, different sizes. I'm going to have to move this guy ever so slightly, but he's my new beginning of round needle. I'm going to put that marker on once I follow the instructions, because different sizes have different instructions on. It's a decrease row. There's going to be some knitting 2 together. My size starts with a knit 2 together. Follow the instructions for your size. And when you see dashes in the pattern, that means that size, there's nothing happening for that size with those instructions. So please try not to get thrown off by that. Like, it has a group of instructions for sizes 3, 4, 5, 10, and 11. And so at the end, the stitch count it gives, she has all the sizes listed, but dashes through everything but those sizes. so that you know what your size stitch count should be. So mine starts with, oh, I almost started knitting with my yellow. That's what I just said I wasn't going to do. So grab the tail and hold it to the back of my work. I'm going to knit 2 together because that's what my instructions say to do first. And then a certain number of knits. I'm putting that stitch marker back on so he can identify where the beginning of my row is. So follow the instructions for your size. We should be decreasing quite heavily here. And if it happens that you need to knit 2 together and there's only 1 on your needle, slide it to the other end of your double point. That's why they're double pointed, so that you can put it on your next one. And guess what? When this needle's full and this needle is empty, this one becomes the one that goes in your right hand, and we shift over and we keep knitting. Again, I have a video only on how to use double point, so I'm not going to explain too much of that here. But don't lose track. The whole reason we moved one over here is this needle is going to start with a knit 2 together and keep following her instructions. Now, what is repeated on these decrease rounds is only what's in parentheses. So some of these sizes will have a knit 1 out in front, and then what's in parentheses says, say, knit 2 together, knit 1. Only repeat what's in the parentheses. So I just finished knitting onto this needle. This one's free. It now becomes the one that I'm going to hold in my right hand to continue. And take a look at what you last did. See if it was a knit 1 or a knit 2 together to know what to do next. The color change here helps me see what I've done and what I haven't. But the other thing is my stitch marker over there. I'm not done with this round yet. The instructions for my size says to do this to 2 stitches before the marker. There I am, and she wants me to knit 2 together, so there we go. I am ready for the icord bind off. And I know that I'm ready because I'm back to this marker, but the marker is going to get in the way. So if I just know, I'm going to take this off, because if I just know I'm starting the icord bind off here, I shouldn't get confused, because the bind off means I'm not going to be going in a circle. I'm just binding off and being done. So let's see what the instructions say for icord bind off. Insert the tip of the right hand needle into the next stitch as if to knit, and using a knitted cast on 5 stitches. So this is different than, remember, cable for our underarm cast on was to go between the stitches. Knitted cast on is going in like you're going to knit. Do 3/4 of the knit stitch. So you yarn over and pull up a loop. Don't take this one off though. We're going to add this one over. And again, you can twist or not, but there's one. And now we want to do it again. We need 5 more stitches. So we go in like we're going to knit, yarn over and pull up a loop, put it back, that loop you just made, back over on your left needle. That's 2. In like you're going to knit, yarn over and pull that loop back up, put it back over on your left needle. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. Now the asterisk part, which is a good indication of something that's going to repeat. Don't worry that this looks a little weird. We've got a gap, we've got stitches hanging off the edge. We're going to knit 4. And we're going to knit 2 together through the back loop, which is your last stitch that you added and the first stitch of your regular knitted stitches that were going around. We knit those 2 together. You've got 5 stitches over here on your right needle. Slip them back over and slip them over purlwise, which I know this isn't the normal direction to purl, but we don't want to twist. We just want to stick the needle straight in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Try not to freak out that your yarn is nowhere near where you need to be next. That's what makes the icord. Repeat from the asterisk. Knit 4. Keep it as snug as you can, but don't worry too hard about it. It's going to look weird for a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Knit 2 together through the back loop. It's going to be the end of this crazy stuff and the next stitch over here. So back loop, back loop. Slip them back over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Knit 2 together through the back loop. 1. Work to catch that next one. 2. Slide them back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to wrap around eventually. It's not there yet. Keep going. Knit 2 together through the back loop. Grab 1. Grab the next one. Knit them together. I can see why she wants this to be on a smaller needle. It's a pretty chunky icord. Let me try to do another one as clearly as I can. The cool thing about an icord, we'll look at it when I'm done, is it really wraps around. So it's a little splayed here, but it's going to wrap around and really look nice on the outside edge. So slide them all back. Knit 4. Try to ignore that your yarn is not at the edge right now. It's what makes it work. Knit 2 together through the back loop. This takes more yarn than you'd realize. Let's hope I have enough left here. Slide all 5 back. Knit 4. Knit 2 together through the back loop. This should always be the last one of what you slipped over and one that you haven't touched in a while. Right, this is the last one on this double point. At this point, when you have a needle free, put it down, shift to your next needle, and continue. And the part we're continuing with is sliding these stitches back over to what is now your left-hand needle, and continue. I'm going to keep going and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, I'm at the very end here, and this is going to be really tight, actually. So I get to see when I finish this if this is going to work. And it's because I'm doing it in a cotton, I may decide that the decreases were too much. But regardless, I'm at my last, slip everything back. I'm going to do my last pass of knit. And now she says bind off in the same direction as working icord. So I would actually slide these back over one last time because we want the tube, not to turn it around, slide it back. And then let's do a normal, somewhat loose bind off. Knit two, pass one over, knit another one, pass it over, knit, pass over, knit, pass over. Now, if I was going to be done, I would cut this. And then she says, and I have a different thing going on here because I changed colors. It's a little loose here. But she wants you to graft the ends together. And that is doing your best with the tail of your yarn to stitch these together. There's ways it's like sewing two ends, top and bottom, that meet to finish this. But I have to try this on and see if my hand and arm will even fit through this. And if it's too tight, because I use the 8s, I have two options. I can go back and rip the whole thing out and do it on 10s, or I can maybe not decrease so much before I do this. Let's try it on and I'll show you what happened and discuss what my options are. So this is kind of, if I sew this together, this is going to be too tight right here. I think it was, and it meant to be up here. It's going to be too tight, and I do not fault, get this on a little bit, I do not fault Midori's pattern for that. I'm using a cotton yarn that doesn't have a lot of stretch for that. So I think what I'm going to do, whereas, I mean, my sleeve is down here. So if I don't care and I don't want to push this up, I'm okay. But look at this right here, see? If I'd sew this together and put it on, I might have been very sadly disappointed and I wouldn't be able to push it up if I want to wear it up higher. So I am going to have to contemplate. I think the first thing I might do is try the whole thing again on 10s. And if it doesn't work, then I will not do as many decreases. It's something to play around with. You don't have to do the icord bind off. This icord bind off is not the reason this doesn't work. I mean, one of the things if you want a bind off where you can push your sleeves up, you might want to just do some ribbing at the bottom. You can alter her pattern. You don't have to do it exactly as written. I think she wanted to have a nice balloon sleeve here. I think for the style that I've chosen, that doesn't necessarily work as well. I think I would like things a little more open. So what I'm probably going to do is play around with not decreasing there or not decreasing as much. And I'm going to try this again because right now that's too tight because the cotton has no give, but that's okay. So it still gives you the instruction if you choose to do her pattern exactly as written, but know if you've got a fiber in your yarn that is not as stretchy as wool, you may want to modify this. You may want to try no decreases. You may want to try something other than the icord. That's up to you. It's okay to play around with this. You are entering territory where it may or may not work. So decide if you're okay with that. It could be the pattern as written isn't quite going to work for the yarn that you've chosen. It doesn't mean that this whole sweater is a failure. If you can be open to moving and sliding a little bit and trying something different. You may be very, very happy with the results. So I'm going to go fiddle with this. If you'd like to see how this turns out, you can watch the Sun Dragon Sideshow, which is my show with Liz, my assistant. Tomorrow, I'm sure I'll have figured it out by then. And buy Midori's pattern if you want to make this, because I'm not giving you enough information to do it without her pattern. Please give a thumbs up, a comment, subscribe if you haven't to this channel. Those are all free ways to help out this channel. If you'd like to support the work we're doing with a little bit of money, it's not required, but it is appreciated. You can become a member over here on YouTube, or you can go to patreon.com/sundragon, it's a mouthful, and sign up for what you're comfortable for a monthly donation to the shop and to our work. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate our patrons and our members. We appreciate our subscribers as well, all of you out there in the Sun Dragon community, because if you're watching these videos, you're part of the Sun Dragon community. It's wonderful. Consider going to check out what's happening over on the Facebook Sun Dragon KAL page. There are people at all different parts of progress on the ranunculi. We may switch to a new knit-along in, say, June, but I bet people will still be posting pictures of their ranunculi. So, as always, may your crafting be filled with joy and confidence. Bye-bye now. So just a really quick add-on that I think what I did to change my bind-off is going to work. That is not going to be too tight when I sew that in. What I did is I backed out and I kept the smaller needles, but I didn't do the decrease round. So I had the full number of stitches, just a bit tighter because I used a smaller needle.